So last week I harvested the oats, and this week I'm going to thresh them and make some oat cakes. They've been stood in the herb shed just in a little stook drying, and there's more left in there yet. So I'm going to thresh these now in a clean tea towel. Threshing is a great opportunity, well, it gives me the opportunity to release pent-up stress and anger and frustration. And of course, it has that end result of releasing the grain from the straw. But to return to Lughnasadh, you can understand why people celebrated Lughnasadh and the grain harvest. The relief they must have felt to have the grain harvested and stored and know that there was food to take them through the winter must have been a wonderful feeling. Now, some of the grain would feed the animals, but you don't want to be giving all your grain to the animals, so this was also a time of year when there would be the selling of surplus stock. So throughout the country there would have been fairs and marts selling cattle and sheep, and there still is. And these sales continue until mid-November. Another benefit of this was there were fewer activities to have to indulge in outside during the cold winter months, because there are fewer animals to have to look after. There we go, and this is all oat straw, so this can be used now either under the chickens as a straw, or we can make tea with it if we want to soothe our nerves and nourish the nervous system. In the old days, people were very spread out around the country. There were very small towns, few towns, and so the Lughnasadh gatherings gave people the opportunity to come together, and it was a good time to resolve disputes or settle any legal matters, and also to arrange marriage contracts. And in those older days it was possible to wed for a year and a day, and this trial marriage gave a couple the chance to be sure about one another. You know, it's a big undertaking, isn't it? So they could discover if they really were compatible or not, and if it turned out they were not happy with one another, either of them could just walk away, and that was the end of it. So there was no hard feelings, no animosity, no big mess. And this was partially because a woman retained her property that she'd brought to the marriage. So they both just walked off with their own goods. And a divorce was very simple. You just had to say, "I divorce you." And that was it. So, good simple way to resolve things. And now I'm going to winnow this grain and let the wind carry away the chaff. I'm using a herb drying frame because it has a nice tight weave, so I won't lose any grain. We have a local heroine, Gráinne Whale, Grace O'Malley, the Pirate Queen, and she divorced her second husband, Richard Burke, in the 1600s by just saying, well, it was the 1500s, it was the 16th century, by saying, "I dismiss you." So in this recipe, I already have some whole grain spelt flour in the bowl here. I've got my butter in there. I've got some salt, baking powder, and a pinch of curry powder. And I'll put the recipe down below if you're interested in making your own oat cakes. If you can't grow your own oats, you can probably get oatmeal in the local health shop or, you know, specialist grocer. Well, I've had a bit of a setback because the oats that I was growing, I can't remember what kind they were, and I realised some of them were hulless and some of them were not. So after threshing them, they're all mixed. So I wasn't able to mill them because it was clogging up the mill, and that's not the way to dehull anyway. So what I've had to do is I've taken some ordinary oat flakes and I've ground them in the coffee grinder, and I've got my oat flour just the same. Unfortunately, it's just not my oat flour. So I have the recipe I'll put down below, but it's mainly spelt flour mixed in with some salt and baking powder, some butter, and then I'm going to add in the oat flour that I have here. And I'll just put it all in. I've got a little pinch of curry powder in here as well for a bit of taste. And there. And I just thought what I will do as well is I'm going to add in about an ounce of oat flakes just to make this a coarse, rough oat cake. And it's that easy. All I have to do now is put in a tiny little drop of milk just to help bind it together. Now it is going to bind very well because it has a high butter content, and the milk is just, you know, pulling it together a bit more. You don't want them to, it's not like a dough, it's just, well, I suppose it is a dough in a way, but not a wet dough that you would have if you were making soda bread or something. There we go. So you could, if you wanted to even, you could grate in a little bit of cheese and then you've got cheesy oatcakes. Or you could put in chopped raisins and a little spoonful of sugar and you'd have a kind of sweet oatcake. But this is just the plain ordinary one so that we can do what we like with it when we're using it. We could put chutney on, we could put cheese on, you could have it plain, you could just put butter on. So I have my little baking trays here. This is all binding together, so I'm going to roll it out and put the little biscuits onto my baking tray. Last one. So here are the oatcakes. These are going into the oven on gas 4 or 350 degrees or 180 degrees. Now, give them 20 minutes and they should be ready. So they're done now. I'll put them on a cooling tray and then we'll give them a try with a little bit of cheese. So it's cooled down sufficiently, so I'm going to give it a test. So I've got some lovely cheese here that a friend, Helen and Gav, brought for us. So let's put a bit of cheese on there and give it a test.
Really lovely and crunchy, really tasty, and really, you know, that shortening kind of texture, really nice. I think we'll all enjoy these at our Lughnasadh celebration. But in future, I'll make sure that the oats that I grow are hull-less, so that I can actually prepare them here at home. And the oats that I have now, they'll just be for the chickens, because we can't use them when they've still got the hull on. So if you decide to grow oats, ask your seed supplier for hull-less oats, because that will be much better. You would have more opportunity to use them when they're hulled. So I shall just finish my cracker and wish you all the best until next week.
I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.